yes, thank you all for joining. I'm really excited about this session because, yes, I think this is a very useful topic for all of you as startup founders in the early stages. Yeah, so before I start, I was wondering who here is working on B2B or B2 versus B2C startups, right? Really want to find out a bit more about that. So if you guys can message in the chat. So yes, whether you're working directly with consumers and the end users, or whether you're working with other companies in the Web3 space, I think this can provide some feedback and context for me. So yeah, I haven't prepared time for introductions at this point, but we can do this at the end of the session amongst the Q&A. So yeah, but I think what you can do is you can ask questions at any point, right? So if something is unclear, feel free to raise your hand here and we can answer your questions. But yeah, so the purpose of this session is really to provide some key takeaways and hopefully key ideas for you and your marketing at your early stage of your business, and essentially to provide you with actions to take out and begin your journey of building your community with no budget or very minimal budget anyway, right? So it is possible. I think it's really important to kind of understand that marketing doesn't, at least at early stages, right, doesn't require a lot of money, and you can start today. Okay, yes, and I love that people here have said both B2B, B2C. I see that you have a mix. But also 2 of you are just working on B2C. So that's really great to know. So let me actually see if this works, if I just presents full screen. Okay, perfect. So a bit about me. I'll start there just so you can have a context about me. So I'm currently a co-founder for Web3 Gaming Studio. So that, of course, falls into the B2C category. But essentially, I've got experience both in B2B and B2C. So I'm a 3 times co-founder also I do a lot of speaking engagements. I've done a lot of coaching in Web2 as well as Web3. And yeah, so I have varied experience in the entertainment sector, but also in data privacy and healthcare. So in all startups before, I've been involved in the startups early stage marketing stages, and really so for the latest latest product, the Web3 Gaming Studio, led the gaming studio to more than 20K community members across socials, and sold out mint with very little budget, right? Less than, when we started, we had like less than 10K. To spend on everything. And yeah, it's been very lean journey. But my previous startup, B2C data privacy app, that was more Web2 startup, got 100K sign up within 5 months with less than 50K budget. I wasn't on my own, but we were a team of 3 to do so. And then before then, I've worked on my own startup in B2B, where we, again, no marketing spent. We actually closed hospitals, airline, and in education school districts without spending pretty much anything on that, right? It was just using the tools at our disposal. So that's why I'm really passionate about getting you guys to know that there's just so much you can do without needing to hire the marketing agency or a very expensive CMO and marketeer. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Web3 really became a place where there is a lot of that, there is a lot of ways to spend your money if you have some savings that you're putting in your startups, right? And then, maybe it's not really, you don't know what you're going to get out of this. So before that, actually, can you guys maybe also put in the chat Are you, what stage are you, right? Meaning, are you bootstrapped, family and friends round, or maybe you have some VC funding already, right? That would be really helpful to know as well. So yes, do let me know in the chats what stage you are, right? So that would be great. So what we're going to talk today about, so we'll talk about why community is everything, ways to build community for free, other ways to grow on the cheap, and what to avoid for maximum leanness and just to save your money, right? So avoid any risk. So I love this. So we have three bootstrap startups, and we've got seed angel funded, which presume there isn't that much money involved, right? So that's great. So bootstrapped, is my bread and butter. I'm a the definition of bootstrapped. So yes, these two hands have done everything from social media to product, UX, UI, and many things. So, but let's go into it. So community is everything in Web3, right? You may know this, probably you do, but I really want to stress this because in Web3, there is nothing more important than your community. And I would say that's valid for B2B as well as B2C, because whatever you do in Web3, it comes to not just your user base, but also what community you have, right? Who is around you. And I really want to visualize this because I think people forget, especially a lot of you guys maybe just coming from Web2, meaning, you've worked in this left format where a business goes to their customers and they're like, I like to say shouting. It's not really shouting, but it's more like it's communicating down on them, right? In social media formats, meaning, you post updates, that's it. But in Web3, you are amongst the customers, right? You are one of them. And in the ones in yellow are, say, your team members, right? So you are amongst them. And it's a very different dynamic. But on the positive side, that really means that you can do so much on the cheap by utilizing your community to work for you, right? There may be some downsides to it for some people. I think some people may not like this format of Web3 that, they have to be so transparent, they have to build in public. But the benefits really are that, you can utilize your community to work for you and help you out for free. So that's really the premise of getting a lot of community building at the core, but also a lot of kind of very lean and financially lean strategies out there. Okay, so essentially, the first part of this masterclass is about how to grow your community for free. Okay, so where to get started. And again, if you get your foundations for your community right, to a good amount, to a decent stage, then it's just going to be way easier for you later down the line, because it is like the snowball effect, right? So you have the first 5 members, they get you 25, right? 25 get you 100. And really, it's not just that. There is additional benefits that are besides just, revenue. There are benefits around your product as well, getting a lot of feedback, getting ideas. So think about your community as your kind of extended team members. That's what I've completely utilized with my community in my gaming startup. I have gotten them to help out with the ideas, but also execution as well. Of course, they need to be happy to do so, right? I'm not talking about doing this in a way that is unethical in any way, but it's more around, getting them to have their own sense of fulfillment by helping out in the community, right? And that is what it is about, the community spirit, to get people essentially happy that they're helping out the cause. And I think, just to say before I go into that, I think it goes 2 ways for me, right? In my startup, I've really employed a lot of transparency and a lot of honesty and a lot of fairness, because it's not about, at the end of the day, you becoming, I think I have maybe a little bit more drastic view, but I think, it's not about you benefiting drastically on top of them, right? So like becoming extremely rich or something, and then your communities has worked for you. It's not about that. I think it is both ways. So it's about helping them, and they helping you. And I think that's the best way, which I think in Web3, we've seen bad examples. We may have seen, NFT projects rug pulling. We know that, right? That's really not right. And then even in some other cases, there have been, quite a lot of, unfairness, I suppose, one-sided, but both should be neutral. Okay. So, I think so. This is the 5 key steps for me to get you set up with the right framework and the right mindset and the right strategy there to get the community to help you out. Okay, so before we start, can you guys tell me who here has already set up their Discord or Telegram? Who already has their Telegram or Discord set up with their yeah, so it's more like a thumbs up. Yeah, got it. Okay, so how many of you, this is my next question, okay, but maybe let me go through this first, and yes, I'll talk about that. So yes, I think this is probably you may know about this, but of course, Twitter and Discord or Telegram are considered a must for Web3, right? Twitter is the way to go. So these are the main, and Discord or Telegram. So there is pros and cons of Discord or Telegram. More recently in the bear market, I feel that a lot of communities move to Telegram because it's somewhat easier to manage. It's a bit more for some, right? It's straightforward. But for example, a gaming community and a gaming product may really want to stick to Discord. So I'm a huge fan of Discord myself. There is just so much you can do that, we've been at Discord from day one. And actually, I haven't done Telegram, but of course, I'm in many Telegram groups. So these are the channels where you build your community, and it's about meaningful relationships, right? Those are the decentralized tools. Actually, I'm talking specifically for Discord and Telegram. Those two are where you go in with your community and talk to them, and you're one of them, right? So it's very flat structure, right? It's very flat structure. Twitter, at the end of the day, yes, it's like that way, but still it is a social media designed in Web 2. So it's still a little bit one-sided in my mind, right? Of course, people can retweet, but I feel the real kind of community building, a lot of people would agree here that it happens in Discord or Telegram, and that's why you need both. Twitter could be more like just to share some news and drive engagement, but where you really have your community is on Discord or Telegram. And in there, you can do so many. So we'll talk about that. But that's where you do your gamification. That's where you do your multiple campaigns that are to engage that community. So don't forget about the other channels, though. I think so it really depends on your business, because I really think the other channels can also be utilized quite well. For example, LinkedIn at some point, maybe still so, or searched as a Web3 promoter as well, right? I'm personally a LinkedIn creator on LinkedIn, and I know that a lot of Web3 thought leaders are sharing things on there. So as well as for individual use, I think you can really set up a page on there, a more traditional way, right? So it's like your business has a page and get your followers on there. And of course, especially if you're B2B, I'm sure you're using LinkedIn to link up with other project founders and other customers, and you can get it on there. But if you have a page, that will be really helpful as well. The thing about LinkedIn's pages is that when you post, your posts do not really reach as far as if you're actually if you're actually posting as an individual. Now, the LinkedIn team itself has told me this once, right? Is that an individual post on LinkedIn will go very much further as per the algorithm, as per if it's an actual page. But it's still helpful to have the page, just to point people to something, and for them to see that it's a legitimate business as well. So I think for YouTube, I think that's very valid if you have a lot of visual content, of course, videos. Again, for games, that could be a really great tool. But also, yeah, just a place to share your events, your thought leadership pieces, some interviews that you have. So yeah, I think let's not underestimate those other mediums, but I would say it really depends on the size of your team and your marketing team, right? It's generally in marketing, when you start, you have to prioritize and do things that you have the time. Don't stretch yourself too thin. And if you only have one person or two people, say, or like an intern and a CMO, then just do maybe those two, right? The Twitter and Discord, and don't do the others. But if you feel that the other social medias here, there are quite a lot, but that's how many logos I managed to fit in here. But there is Snapchat, there are many others, right? But if you feel that those would help for your specific audience, I think try maybe one at a time and just see how it performs. But I can tell you that, yes, I have sold NFTs through LinkedIn, right? And I actually had a point of like, I knew who are NFT minters just from LinkedIn. So I'm really a fan of not underestimating the other mediums as well. And of course, TikTok as well. Twitch is obviously for gaming as well. But on TikTok, you can do a lot of cool videos and get some new audiences there as well. But again, it's just, for me, it's like just depending on your strategy and your business as well. And yeah, so speaking about Discord, I think this is really good topic. This is not just Discord, by the way. I mean, you can do the same principles on Telegram as well. But what is specific to Discord is like the gamification for community engagement. So creating the gaming bot, for example. So this is something that I've done, but also it became more and more popular recently. And even there are bots that really cater for that. Some creating your currency in Discord, as well as engagement and rewarding people for that engagement. Discord itself is set up in this way that it gives people experience points. But on top of that, what I've done successfully here is, for example, we set up a Foxy Peso currency, which is nothing but a centralized database currency. But it's a simple game that people have to do every day, type in a command, and then collect those points. Right. So at the end, there is a leaderboard in which they compete and they can win something at the end of it. Right. So however you want to structure this, I think it's really good idea to have such a tool in your Discord so people have a reason to return on a daily basis to how they say it, to grind for something. Okay, so that's one thing here. And the other way is right now there's a lot of tools that are like website platforms that essentially allow you to gamify your community. I personally like Zeely.io. Let me type in here as well. Because it is it provides a lot of options. And I've posted a screenshot, and there is at the end, there is a link. So why that is better than others in my mind? Because I've actually tried 4 or 5 platforms, and in there you can say you give your community $100 to the top 3, for example, top 3 people on the leaderboard. But all that I have to do is follow you on Twitter and join Discord. This is not enough, right? Whereas what Zeely has done, and maybe there are many other tools like it, I don't know, but I use Zeely. In there, you can really set up your own quests, meaning that you can do anything you want to tell people. For example, read my white paper and tell me what our vision is, right? And that's a quest for them, and you give them points. And then the people that are on top of that leaderboard, then they win something. Okay, and by that you can give them NFTs, you can give them potentially tokens at some point. You don't need to give them crypto or cash, right? So, but with Zeely, it's the good thing is that essentially you have hundreds of people taking part, sharing every day your Twitter posts, coming on Discord, answering questions, finding out more about your project. There's just so many things you can do in there. And like in our quest, we've put, I don't know, 30 to 40 different tasks that they need to do, some of them every day, some of them once. And in there, this way, they just have a lot of engagement and a lot of things to do. And then at the end of the season, say in a few weeks, they get something, right? If they are the top on the leaderboard. So always think about these gamification techniques. I know that maybe this is too much to take in, right? Maybe some of you haven't tried it yet, but all of this is tried and tested by a lot of projects, and kind of provides a lot of return on the work, right? It gets people engaged, and people love to be challenged a little bit and be given some tasks to do. And yes, so following this, right? So rewarding the active members that you have. So for example, there is the concept of brand ambassadorships program, where you get some people to be your brand ambassadors, and when they do something, you reward them with potential tokens, again, experience points, and other similar incentives, right? And again, they take pride in sharing your product and project this way. So I think in this example here, what I've given is our Foxy Peso token, potential token, right? It's not launched, but essentially we're looking at people can get it by taking part in daily games on Discord, community competitions, bounties, helping out, community engagement in many other ways like this, right? And then what you can do is how, even before you have your product out, what you can do is you can allow them to spend it on, for example, some NFTs that you have, or the discounts, if you can find some partnerships to give discounts from. A whitelist, of course, but I personally don't like that. I think the days of whitelistings are over, and things like that. So essentially, always think of what is the best way to provide value to your community while they give you value back, right? So that's how it works in Web3. And then, yes, of course, the next one is straightforward. There are two principles of sharing content when it comes to marketing and social media, right? It either has to be useful content or entertaining content, right? So, for example, a lot of it on TikTok is exactly in those categories, entertaining or useful. So, however you want to do it, I think these principles apply, right? Don't just post something if it doesn't provide that value for the users. So if you're more B2B, I think you can focus on a lot more useful content for your partners and clients in this way. There is just so much you can do around getting some knowledge and insight to those other businesses that are potential customers. Or if you are, of course, directly to the community, again, it could be very much useful information, but also there is the element of entertaining content. And to be honest, the NFT space, for example, has been all around that. You know, the degen projects and a lot of success stories has been because they've gotten something right around, entertaining content and like fascinating and getting that right. So yes, this is a little bit more coming from the Web 2 and how things in marketing have been for many, many years. But I would say sharing content that is good is still valid in Web 3 as well. And it doesn't cost you anything but time to share something about your project, share some good memes, videos that are funny or something like that, depending on your product. And then, yeah, so another thing, and the final thing I would say that I would put in a completely free category is Twitter Spaces and other events. Now, this is the, of course, every time that you attend Twitter Space and you speak, and there is just one constantly, right, many events happening and spaces, and you get your community, you build your community for free, but the cost of it is of course time, right? And if you're co-founder, you may not have a lot of time. I think if you have somebody on your team that is very eloquent and excels at spaces, that's a great thing to put them on. But yes, I think getting to speak at various spaces can work really well, but it's about consistency and it's about doing quite a lot of them, right? It never works that with one space you get you grow your community by hundreds. So if you get 10 people or 5 people every time, I think that's a good going. So yeah, but it is free though. That's the benefit. But yes, I think a key takeouts from this section is that yes, everything when it comes to communities, is free, right? Setting up your community is free. It does take you time, but do start doing it from day one. Get your community to work for you via gamification principles, or just purely because of how you motivate them about the vision of your product and project. But do be patient. I think what we've seen in this bear market right now is that there's basically no shortcuts to growth, and things do take time. So when we had the bull market, there was a lot of hype, and it was different, but also we did see that a lot of projects failed because of this as well, right? They just couldn't manage this very well. But actually the organic and growth that is, yes, upwards, but probably rather steady versus a spike and then down, that's going to get you funded and is going to get you succeed in the long term. Especially after actually discussing and figuring out what your target audience is. And I'm sure you've had workshops on this topic previously. Like finding your key target audience is the first thing that you should do, probably, or do this simultaneously as you deploy these strategies that we've just discussed. Okay, and yeah, so I would say that this is the strategies around community. Now, of course, there are other marketing strategies that can still be implemented and executed on the cheap. Maybe not always free, but on the cheap. Okay, so just go there. So there is a lot of talks about partnerships and collabs. Now this has been going on for a while. Maybe you know, of course, what that means, but it's different every time. But what I have seen is, specifically when it comes to NFT projects as well, is that there is a difference between partnerships and collabs. Collabs are very much the short-lived ways to partner with another community. It involves whitelist giveaways, and I would say that this is rather more sort of a vanity promo, meaning that it happens very quick, but does it really provide you value in the long term? I don't know. For me, it's been more no than yes. Okay. I think the communities are now tired of these whitelist collabs, and they can read this from miles off. Partnerships could be a more efficient way to get users for free if they're done correctly. But one the key is that I think both partners need to properly endorse the other partner to their community. And sometimes that doesn't happen. I feel that sometimes it's a bit one-sided and it just doesn't work as well as it could be. But I think for you guys, the founders, I think it's you see this from firsthand when a founder actually promotes your product to their community. It can work really well, but it needs to be genuine, and it needs to be more kind of thought out partnerships and strategic partnerships. I think those partnerships have become more the norm than before. But I think when it came to NFT projects, you did see quite a lot of, maybe not so genuine partnerships, to put it this way. So yes, I think definitely when it comes to yes, of course, partnering with the chains themselves. Yeah, I've done a lot of that, of course, Polygon, Near, etc. But yes, also marketplaces. Yeah, like great examples with the gaming DAOs. There is definitely a lot that you can benefit there. So yeah, thank you for sharing these examples. Yes, I think we let me finish the presentation. We are almost there, and then we can finalize with a few more questions if you have any. So yeah, so of course with influencer marketing right now, it's a little bit tricky, I think, from my experience anyway. You know, the costs. So I put there tread with caution, because what we've seen is yes, that we've seen scammers, but also just non-effective influencers. You know, that happened in Web3, but actually in Web2 I managed to get 100K signups, mostly on influencer marketing. That was I think that was like the year before Web3 came, and I think it was still kind of rather effective. I think right now the problem is that there is just a lot of influencer marketing for Web3 projects, and it just doesn't come to be very genuine. And at least for gaming as well, I haven't really seen huge results. And I used to pay some amounts, right, from $50 to, of course, it can cost you thousands. In fact, the ones that charge thousands, maybe this could be something maybe further down the line for all of you for sure. But this way, who knows? You just have to, maybe you have to just rely on marketing specialists to vet them. But actually, I've also had very bad lists of influencers sent by vetted marketing agency as well. Then you go in, and in the list, all of these influencers have actually they're not existing anymore, right? So you just have to be very careful and do your research. Of course, there are tools online to see those influencers, whether they have botted accounts, right? Whether there is a spike in their audience, because if there is a spike and a dip, that means those influencers have paid for followers, right? And that's extremely common as well. And you have to just spot that on. So there's Google some tools, but for Twitter and YouTube, there are tools to tell you to just check that the following for that influencer over the past years, so they can see whether there is unusual activity. So normally it needs to be a slow growth, but if there is a short spike and a drop and a spike of views as well, most likely they've just paid for that, and they've paid for those followers to come in. So that's what's happening with influencer marketing. But on the positive side, you know, I think if you go in and just maybe outside of the Web3 space a little bit, and kind of partner with maybe more influencers that have been around before the Web3 space, and more legitimate ones, the ones with more background from like many years, I think you can probably find some good ones there. But I'll definitely tread with caution there. And yes, advertising and social media, I think, yeah, I think, again, you have to just see what works. I think what I like about this is that you can really try and test with small amounts and just iterate. Social media advertising and digital advertising is about just finding what works and A/B testing constantly what works and what doesn't work. And I think, yeah, I think further down the line, it could be a really good way to scale and know exactly how much you spend. But I think for Web3, in the starting stages is probably a little bit too early to do such advertising. But I think the key takeaways here is just be cautious when spending money early on. Make sure that the partnerships are mutual, which you're doing really well, seem a lot of you. Be cautious when it comes to influencers, and yeah, experiment with small budgets. I would say with anything, right? Just test different approaches with small budgets before you spend thousands, especially if you don't have those thousands, right? And just test and iterate and do it all over again. And this is my kind of experience with Web3 marketing agencies and other experts. So the marketing agencies, I think a lot of times people just spent a lot of money and they were not happy. So I would actually advise first of all, definitely have to have word of mouth of successful customers before you pay a marketing agency, because there are many out there. I also would advise against kind of newly Web3 expert marketers. I actually prefer marketing people that have Web2 background, because that means that they have they just have solid background, right? Versus just new people that are suddenly they've sold out an NFT collection and they've become marketers, right? So still, I think I would say really choose carefully who you work with. And yes, I think you shouldn't need thousands of dollars to test if a marketing idea works. So I think you have to start small, and only if you see that something works, then you spend that more money on it. But yes, I think a lot of those tests you can do with very little budgets.